So I turned 39 this month.
Oh, but I'm back. Shit. Yeah, oh shit. Yeah, oh shit.
So that happened. And I've been thinking about doing a blog for a long time. Been thinking about doing a lot of things. And upon inspiration from people like Casey Neistat, I decided to make it happen. So, starting this month, I am going to be doing a year-long blog called Approaching 40. And it's going to be about a lot of things. It's going to be about a lot of ideas of me, a 39-year-old living in our nation's capital, dealing with some thoughts and ideas that have to do with that, but also some bigger picture stuff as well. Things I've always wanted to put into a book, but have never had the time or the narrative. And so now this appears to be that time and that narrative to make that happen. Okay, so why watch this blog? Why would this be interesting to you? I think the main thing that made me think that approaching 40 would be an interesting topic to people, particularly younger people, is because I've always been interested in, you know, what would it be like when I'm older? What am I gonna think? You know, I know what I am now, like when I was in my, you know, late teens, early 20s. It seemed so strange to me, the thought patterns that older people had. It didn't make sense to me why they would vote the way they did, why they would have the beliefs that they would have, and it was strange to me. And I always was curious, you know, what's that gap? What's that difference between us that makes them think like that? And why can't I convince them of my opinion? Where are they coming from? What are their priorities? You know, your identity changes a lot as you get older, and you're not the same person you were when you started out. I believe that you carry those things with you, and that you become an accumulation of everything that you were before, but you add on layers and you become more complex, and you sometimes continue to drive like a 16-year-old, but yeah, you still have all those things, but you're more. Alright, so when I grew up, this was the neighborhood I grew up in. My family was Republican. When I was in college, it was George W. Bush who was president, newly elected, and I was pretty excited for what he was going to bring to the table.
That I can get something positive done on behalf of the people. That's what the question in this campaign is about. It's not only what's your philosophy and what's your position on issues, but can you get things done? And I believe I can. All right.
So at that same time, it's also very passionate about life advancing sciences like stem cell research, which is really popular, starting to come out and get some traction back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Looking ahead, looking at my parents and knowing how long it takes to advance this kind of stuff, I was interested in it and was scared when Bush pulled back funding for it in the name, that it was against God and it was kind of playing God.
And like all Americans, I have great hope for cures. I also believe human life is a sacred gift from our Creator. I worry about a culture that devalues life, and believe as your president, I have an important obligation to foster and encourage respect for life in America and throughout the world.
Many people can differ on what's in the best interests, but when it comes to whether you're living or dying, and whether you can have a heart transplant or a liver transplant because science is being advanced, that's pretty clear cut. Once I kind of clearly saw that it was religion that was
getting in the way of this president, with all the powers that come with the president and with the budget of the United States. Once I saw that he wasn't using that power, it became obvious that there's a lot of education that needed to happen in order to get us to where we needed to be, because common sense wasn't ruling the day, and the status quo was flying in the face of what should be. So it's a sobering reality, and it continues to be the case in many decisions being made these days. So I felt like it was time to get these ideas out there.